Hi everyone. I miss you guys. Hey, great. I haven't seen some of you in a while. Some of you I see every week, which is a pleasure. So I'm happy to be here. Today we're going to be talking about conscious choices. And this passage, Jesus is talking about choice. You got to make a choice, right? You got to look at what you have right now. Do you like what you have? When Jesus in that passage is saying, hate your life, what maybe he is saying is, do you like how your life is right now? Is everything perfect? Is everything okay? Right? So Jesus' teachings is all about choices. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. All right. So we're all familiar with the cause and effect law, right? I thought that, because that's what happens to us sometimes. We act, and usually we don't act. Do we act? Usually what do? We react. I wish we were acting all the time. But usually we're reacting to what? To people, to situations, right? We are reacting instead of acting. And the law of cause and effect tells us that if you do something, right, whatever action, cause and effect is about action. Once an action is taken, that's going to reflect what? That's why I put the ripple effect. Right? Once you decide to do something and you do it, the action, you're going to affect yourself. And who else? You're going to affect yourself and also your surroundings. You're affecting the whole universe when you're doing something, right? That's the law of cause and effect. For every action, there is a reaction. Is there any way to cheat this law? Can you cheat it? Can you act and not have a reaction from your action? No. This is a law. You cannot cheat. Once you took a step, you're gonna what? Suffer, experience the consequences of that step. That's why I brought those. And these are, when we're choosing, there are different choices, right? They're the involuntary choices you make in life. For example, when you put your finger on a hot stove, right? You do that. We look like you do. And then a chef does that. And then what happens when your finger touches something hot, a hot surface? What happens? It burns. But what do? You pull away. You react. But do you think about a reaction? No, it's instantaneous. Your body is what? Is made in a way to react. You don't even have to think about it. It just happens, right? So that's an involuntary choice. There are also so these are the external causes that make us act. Then we have the internal causes, right? What are the internal causes? For example, if you're going to give a talk here, and you start getting what? You start getting nervous and then anxious. What is the reaction to that? Your body, right, starts the heart shaking, sweating. What else?
The heartbeat really.
The heartbeat. You start getting your palpitates really fast.
You want to go pee.
The butterfly. I need to go to the bathroom very often, right? So those are internal choices that you're making, but they're not really aware. And what happens? You have external causes. But tonight we're going to talk about the choices we make. Not these two choices, because these two choices are somewhat. You can deal with anxiety that can be done. But these two are reactions, natural reactions. We're talking about the choices we make when we stop, we think, we ponder. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, I ask you, are you the agent? And I'm affirming here, but I want you to ask yourself, are you the active agent in charge of the process of choosing. Meaning, are you the owner of your mind? Do you choose? If I ask you, Carlos, do you want ice cream or do you want pudim? Who doesn't know pudim is a flan, is the Brazilian flan.
Ice cream.
He wants ice cream. So are you sure you're the one that chose it? Was it Carlos that chose it? Are you the agent, the active agent of your choices? Yes, we are. Why is that important? Because it means that we have free will. Right? And if we don't have free will, what happens? If we're just a machine and our neurons and our memories are choosing everything for us, it means that we are not what? The active agent. Our brain is. You understand what I'm saying? All your memories, everything that you have programmed in your brain is choosing for you, not your conscious self. We're going to talk about a little bit. Now, and the people that study with me Thursday, we talked about this experiment, right? We studied that Thursday. There is an experiment that is called the Liebe experiment. And what they did was they attached machines in the brains of these subjects, and they were told to look at the clock and make some choices. They were asked some questions to choose. Okay, you choose, think of a color. Do you want blue or yellow? And when they finally made the decision, they had to write down the time they decided. And what they realized was, and that this experiment was done and redone and again, and it got the same results. When the person wrote down and thought consciously that that person had decided what that person wanted, the brain had already chosen. So there was like a 2-3 second delay. It's a very short delay, but there was a delay, meaning that your brain, the unconscious part of your brain, already knew what you wanted, and then you became conscious of it a few seconds later. So materialists, they jumped to the conclusion to say that, look, free will does not exist because it's your genetics, your instincts, your memories are choosing for you. And then you just become aware of the choice that has been made for you by your physical equipment. Right? So that's the argument they use. But we are spiritists. So that's the Liebe experiment. We are spiritists, and we know we're not what? A robot. Because if we're not the ones choosing, our brains, our equipment is choosing for us, means we don't have free will. If we don't have free will, there are no moral choices to be made. If there are no moral choices to be made, I'm not guilty of anything. Right? If I'm not choosing, if I'm a robot, I'm pre-programmed. If I'm pre-programmed, my program is going to decide what I'm going to choose. It's not me. But we know, spiritists, we know we're not robots. We have a soul. We are souls. And this delay in this experiment is simply explained by the soul communicates to the brain what wants the brain to decode. And then we become aware of us, soul, what we're thinking, what we're choosing. Because we are not bodies. What are we? We are what? A mind. We have a mind. A mental body. And our mental body, which is part of our soul, who we truly are, communicates to the brain the choices we make. So that explains that delay. In the Spirit's book, Kardec asked the Spirit, who would like to read? No one wants to read it? David. Well, no one but David.
May we, from the influence of the corporeal organs, infer a connection between the development of the cerebral organs and that of the moral and intellectual faculties. Do not confound effect and cause. A spirit always possesses the faculties that belong to him, but you must remember that it is not the organs that give the faculties, but the faculties that incite to the development of the organs.
So, it says the spirits, don't confuse, it's not your brain choosing. It's your soul, you are a spirit. This, who you are, the soul, is telling your body what it wants. And who your mind belongs to? To you. My mind belongs to me. And my mind is my mind here. When I die, this body dies. This body that I'm using right now, this body dies. Is my mind lost with this body? No. Because my mind exists outside of my body. That's why we see the what? The near-death experiences when people also project themselves, the astral projection, when they go out their bodies and they visit other places. That's proof that a mind is not part of the physical body. And your mind belongs to you. And every choice we make, we are building who we are. Every choice we make in all the past incarnations since we exist, and we could make choices, because we start making choices when we're able to make choices. Because in the beginning of the evolution, us, the intelligence evolution, the evolution of the spirit, we are not able to what? Make choices. Who makes choices for us? There's something called instinct, right? The animals. Do they choose? Do animals choose? Do animals have free will? Huh? I know some animals, they seem like they choose, and I'm sure we're going through that gray. There are some animals that are the domesticated animals. They're in that gray area, and some other animals are intelligent enough that they are in that gray area because they seem like they're choosing, right? But let's talk about the majority of the animals. Do they choose?
No.
If they did, we would put them in jail. Every time a lion killed a gazelle, the lion would be in jail, right? Go to jail because you could have done better. Could have gone to the supermarket and bought you some meat. Why did you kill the gazelle? That's not because that's their instinct. That is God thinking for them. Instinct is what? Is God's intelligence, as God thinking for the animals. But guess what? We have already conquered what? That. We have conquered our right to choose, and we choose. Now because we have free will. You can only say if you have free will if you are conscientious enough that you can choose, and we are in that. We're in that level. We can choose, and once you start choosing, you're accumulating choices, right? So we are the sum of all our choices. Have you thought of that? Sometimes we blame God, right? Oh, why God? Why God? Why do you do this to me? Why me, God, right? And we are the sum of all our choices. And not only all our personal choices, but we are also influenced by humanity, because we're a group and we are tied together. We're brothers. Remember, Jesus called us brothers and sisters. That means that we're tied together. So my choices will affect you as well. But we personally, we are the sum of our choices. David, please.
As a spirit at its origin is simple, ignorant, and without experience, how can he make an intelligent choice of an existence, and how can he be responsible for such a choice? God supplies what is lacking through his inexperience by tracing out for him the road which he has to follow, as you do for the infant in its cradle. But he allows him, little by little, to become the master of his choice in proportion as his free will becomes developed, and it is then that he often loses his way and takes the wrong road, if he does not listen to the advice of the good spirits who endeavor to instruct him It is this which may be called the fall of man. When a spirit is in possession of his free will, does the choice of his corporeal existence always depend solely on his own?
So we are choice makers. We are choice makers. And we're infinity choice makers because we have an infinity of choices that we can make. Right? So everyone understands the concept that we are choice makers and we are the sum of our choices. Now we're going to talk about a very tricky type of choice we make. Is the unconscious choices. Why are these dangerous? Because we're not aware we're making those choices. For example, I can turn and insult, I don't want to insult anyone here. I can insult the computer. No, the computer, no, because there's no action comes. I'll insult you. Okay, I can say, Elias, this shirt looks horrible.
That was a compliment.
It makes you fat. It makes you look fat. Okay? Now, what do we do? And it's unconscious because we do right away. What do we do? What do we do? We get mad, offended, defensive, right? We get defensive. What's wrong with her? Look at her. She's a little fat herself. Did you notice that for the little fat? She's fat herself. What is wrong? I'm not. I look perfect. You know, I worked out. What is, you know, and you start defending yourself. And how much energy do we spend in defending ourselves? Internally, we have the defense talk. There are two talks, internal talks we have. They're very destructive because they take a lot of energy from us. First, we defend. We have to defend ourselves from whatever comes from outside because we made the unconscious choice of accepting whatever came our way. We brought it in, and I'm reacting. I'm defending myself. And it takes a lot of energy. And then sometimes we externalize. How much energy do we spend defending our point of view? That is not the action of the true self, the spirit. That is the action of the ego. The ego reacts. The ego needs to defend itself. The self, who we truly are, it needs no defense. How much time do you spend defending your point of view? Defending that you're a good person. Defending that you deserve. Not only to others, but to yourself internally. Let it go. You're the son of God, the daughter of God. Jesus is your brother. You're cool. We spend so much energy convincing, trying to convince others, to uphold our self-importance. And that's very destructive because you should be using that energy to go with the flow, right? To move with the universe, with God. So we have to become aware of the unconscious choices we make. Because remember, it doesn't matter that the choice was unconscious because we have not learned to make them. We still suffer the consequences of making them, don't we? Don't we suffer? So we have to become aware of these unconscious choices. Also, it can happen also with the opposite. I can compliment you. And a compliment can be as destructive and as I can compliment you. Yeah, no. I can say, Carlos, that shirt just brings up your eyes and you look even more handsome. And that she picked for you. Yeah, don't worry, I know that she picked it. But you can let it go to your head, how we say it. Feeling, think, yeah, I'm gorgeous. I'm a great God. Yes, I know. And that can also disturb you. That can also affect you in a negative way. to choose wisely what we accept to bring into our inner world. Because these choices, believe it or not, they affect our lives even more than choices we make. That when we're thinking, we pass a whole month thinking about something, right? And we made that choice. And we shouldn't be worrying so much about that particular choice. We should be worrying about the little choices. Because those that are not little, they're big, the unconscious choices that are really what? Driving us and putting us in the directions that we don't want to go. Because we spend so much in thinking of the objects. Every time we think of objects outside, and we're so concentrated in the outside, put our whole mind and energy in the outside, in the objects and goals, right? Material goals. What happens to our inner, our insides? Just freely choosing. So imagine like a daycare of 100 kids with no teachers or supervisors. That's what is going on within you right now when you're concerned about the objects, the material things outside of you. And those are not the big choices. The big choices are inside of us. They're immaterial. So I'll give you some tips to help you with that when you're making choices. First of all, the unconscious choices. Listen to your inner self, to your inner talk. Right? And some of our inner talks are really loud inner talks. Right? You might be thinking now, oh, I can't wait to go home. When I get home, I'm going to eat this. Do I have enough leftovers? What do I have tomorrow? What I'm going to wear tomorrow? Did I call that person? So you always have, there is a voice inside of all of your heads right now. They're competing with my talk. I know that. There's competition. And that is normal. We have this. That's our inner talk. And we have to become aware of what is going on in our minds, because this little voice that
Mine doesn't say
and he said something, but you see, I know he was making a joke, but that's something there. To learn how to shut that voice up. And say, shut up. It's very powerful. To learn how to be still, quiet, without thinking of anything. Just be. We're human beings. And I know this is, you have heard this many times. Oh, you're not human doers. But we became human doers. We're not human beings. It's very hard for someone to just exist. Try to sit. I challenge you to sit and not think of anything. Do not look on your phone. Do not read a book. Because reading a book, you're conversating. You're having a conversation with the author. No. Just sit still and be. Because you're a human being. And tell me later how hard it was. Just to be. Because we're not used to be. And when we learn how to calm that inner voice, to quiet it, then we can listen to the voice of whom? We pray, we ask, but we stop to listen to God. And we can only listen to God if we're quiet. You cannot listen to God if you're yelling. And when we're making choices, conscious choices, we ask ourselves before we make that choice, what are the consequences of the choices that I'm making? Do you think of that? We usually do, right? And we can think of, like, we can write soap operas, the very dramatic soap, the Brazilian or Mexican soap operas, because the ends are horrible, right? So horrible ends. Well, we got to think, what are the consequences of my choice? If I make this choice, what are the consequences? Second, will this choice bring fulfillment and happiness to me? Because we ask, is going to bring me money? Right? Usually it's money. Or it's going to just give me less hassle. Right? Avoid problems. When we should be asking, the self. We wanna feed the self. In order to feed the self, our true self, we need to ask, will this choice bring me fulfillment and happiness? If it doesn't, stop. Don't make that choice. Who are affected by this choice? Because sometimes I think, well, I'm good. I'll make the choice. I think that these are the outcomes. Yeah, I like the outcomes. But who are affected also? We have to ponder. Is it going to be, someone's going to be negatively affected? We're responsible human beings. We're part of this universe. We're co-creators. Have you thought of the responsibility each of us have? We're co-creators with God. We're creating the universe right now as we speak, making our choices. The least we can do is to stop and think about it, right? That's the least. One way we can also, and we just spoke a little bit about it, is to listen to our inner wisdom. And to listen to our inner wisdom, we have to be quiet. Our hearts. Some people, some cultures say, listen to your heart, right? Or some people feel it more in the pit of the stomach, right here. Sometimes your body knows better than your brain, because your brain is not decodifying what your soul is saying, what you're saying, your spirit is saying, but your body got it. That's why we get diseases, we get allergies, right? All of a sudden we're scratching ourselves and we have those allergies and bumps, or we get a nerve something inflammates, right? It's because our soul, ourselves are telling our brains, listen, I don't like what you're doing, right? But what do? We ignore it. Our brain, I'm not decodify this. Forget about it. Just throw it in the back. Throw it in the back. And what happens? Then we feel in our bodies, right? So our bodies is also telling us. Our bodies, Grace knows a lot because she works. That's her line of work. Your body's communicating all the time to you. So you got to stop. Listen to your body. See how it feels. If you think of a choice, and when you thinking of making that choice, how do your body feels? Do you get chills in the pit of your stomach, or do you feel good? It doesn't have to be something like wow, but subtle sensations. Your body knows. That's your inner wisdom. Jesus, he taught us about making choices all the time, right? Remember the passage with the adulterer, the woman, and he made everyone think. And that's the thing. That's why Spiritism is so great, and that's what I love about Spiritism, because it teaches you how to think. That you gotta think, you gotta question things. And that's what Jesus did when he came. He taught us to think, to question. What did Jesus do when he saw everyone ready with big stones in their hands to stone the adulterer, the woman that was crying on the floor? What did he ask? Who remembers? That's the popular one.
Throw the first stone whoever never seen.
What did he do at that moment with that phrase? He made everyone what? Is stop and think before they act. Jesus, he came and he taught us how to, you gotta think before you act. And that passage is a clear example. He asked a whole group of people that were arranged, right? Everyone was ready to go. Stop. Think. Are you really in the position to do it? Is that a good choice? Can you make that choice? Jesus was all about choices. He taught us how to make choices by stop thinking, pondering. And then we can think, but Priscilla, I'm in panic right now, because if I'm the sum of my choices, I have made some horrible choices. What now? Whoops. What now? Fear not, my brother or my sister. Because Jesus also taught us, what did he taught us? Above all, show sincere love to each other, because love brings about the forgiveness of many sins. And sins back then, the meaning of sins was to miss the mark. It's not. Sin is to miss the mark. What is missing the mark? Is making a bad choice, right? And Jesus said, with love, loving. If you love, through love, you're going to fix it. You made a bad choice, but act with love. Externalize the love that is inside of you, because God put that seed there. Let your light shine, and then you'll be okay. So, this is some of the Spirit's book, the Bible, in Prager University, because they have the experiment. That's my bibliography. And I like to leave you the challenge of sitting still, of quieting that inner voice to listen to what God has to say to you. That's my challenge to you for this week, okay? I hope you win that challenge.
It's kind of like a meditation.
Meditation, but don't think of anything. Try to just quiet down. Listen to God, nature. Listen to nature, because nature is the expression of God as well. So if you have contact with nature, that's also helps a lot. But we need to learn how to quiet that inner voice. So we can, because when we manifest, when we're talking, we can better understand and realize and feel that there's something going on. Because when we are yelling all the time, when you're in a house, there's only yelling, what happens? Does anyone listen to anything? No, it's just yelling. So we got to quiet down all the yelling that is happening in our house, so we can make the good choices, the right choices, the choices made with our true God inside, with the self. Okay? Thank you so much.